Elara tried to steady her hands as she walked through the enormous, dark, marble lobby of Obsidian Corporation. This was the headquarters of the biggest luxury company in the city, and she was terrified her new shoes would slip on the polished floor. She had landed her dream job in marketing, but the cost of the success was the intense pressure of her new boss, Caspian Thorne. He was the CEO, intimidating, brilliant, and handsome in a way that felt unfair to everyone else. Caspian was a machine of professionalism, always serious, always detached, moving through the office with silent power. Their first official meeting had involved him tearing apart her presentation with sharp surgical logic, leaving her feeling utterly exposed. Yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching her. Sometimes, when he thought no one noticed, his dark, analytical eyes would rest on her, looking not at an employee, but at something personal and profound. It was a strange, tiny crack in his otherwise perfect CEO image, a glitch in the obsidian mirror that Elara couldn't stop thinking about. This electric, heavy tension was her only distraction from the suffocating pressure at home. Her family was counting down the days until her 21st birthday, the date she had to finally meet the man she was contracted to marry, the mysterious Scion whose identity was hidden from her. This arranged marriage was her family's only hope for clearing their crushing debts. The thought of marrying this unknown, cold stranger made the stolen glances from Caspian feel less like a work distraction and more like a desperate, forbidden safety line. She was falling for the wrong man, the one man who could never be hers, and the intensity of that secret pull was growing too strong to manage. She knew this dangerous spark could ruin everything, but she was finding it impossible to ignore the intense, soul-deep focus he kept giving her. The office was eerily silent at 1 a.m., a dark maze where only the light from Elara's computer was visible. She was fighting back tears of sheer frustration. A huge coding mistake had just wiped out a vital client report, and she knew she was going to be fired. Suddenly, a shadow fell over her, and she looked up to find Caspian Thorne standing right there. He saw her panic state but didn't say a word about being late or failing. Instead, his presence was quiet and instantly calming. He just pulled up a chair next to her. As he leaned in to look at the screen, the powerful, sophisticated scent of his cologne filled the small space, instantly making the air thick and warm. They worked side by side, his hand occasionally brushing hers as he typed with expert, fast movements. The problem was fixed in minutes, but the tension in the silence afterward was no longer professional. It was charged with mutual awareness. He turned, finally letting down his guard, and his dark eyes were raw, intense, mirroring the sudden chaos building inside her chest. "You have fire, Elara," he murmured, the deep, private observation making her heart race as his thumb gently traced the line of her jaw. Before she could process her CEO crossing every imaginable line, he moved closer. The kiss was devastating, sudden, and demanding, hot, possessive, and overwhelming. It instantly erased every thought of work rules, boardrooms, and family pressure. That kiss sealed their dangerous, secret office romance, a compact they both knew could shatter her career and his untouchable reputation. They were playing a forbidden game, and the spark between them was too strong to turn back. The memory of the illicit kiss in the archive felt like a permanent mark on Elara's skin. She was reckless and alive at work, but the reality of her life outside the office was crushing her. At home, her mother was relentless, checking days off the calendar. "Only 3 weeks left, Elara. The meeting with the Scion is set. You must secure our future." Elara felt completely torn. Her family's financial security and honor depended entirely on this arranged marriage. How could she possibly agree to marry a complete stranger, a cold heir, when her soul was already claimed by Caspian, her demanding and glorious boss? She tried to build a wall between them at work, throwing herself into her projects, but Caspian's possessiveness only grew stronger. He found endless excuses to keep her late, to work in close quarters, his powerful eyes challenging her, daring her to pull away. "You're distracted and hiding something," he challenged her one evening, trapping her against a sleek desk. His powerful presence and expensive scent seemed to suffocate her defenses. She couldn't bring herself to tell him about the marriage. She feared his corporate coldness would return, or that he would simply fire her for being complicated. When she refused to talk, he simply dominated the space, tightening his grip on her attention and demanding her truth without ever saying the word. The conflict was unbearable, tearing her loyalty in two. The solemn promise to her family versus the profound, desperate need for the man whose forbidden love was the only thing that felt completely real and honest. Every stolen glance became a betrayal of her duty, and every day brought her closer to a fate she desperately wanted to escape. Their secret office romance was an operation running on pure adrenaline, a series of thrilling, terrifying encounters. They shared quick, urgent kisses in shadowed corners, and whispered meetings in the dark parking garage. Every touch was an act of professional sabotage and personal recklessness. Elara knew she had to stop. One miserable afternoon, she confronted Caspian, trying to break things off. "This has to end. The risk to both of us is too high." His response was immediate, terrifyingly gentle, and utterly final. He didn't argue. He simply looked at her with such powerful, absolute certainty that her resolve instantly crumbled into dust. "If you are mine," he stated calmly, his voice deep and unwavering, "there is no risk. There is only inevitability." He treated her attempts to leave as if they were a fleeting, childish rebellion, reinforcing his absolute ownership over her. His complete lack of fear both fascinated and terrified her. The pressure from her family at home peaked as her 21st birthday approached. Her mother presented her with a heavy, cold sapphire necklace, a traditional, formal gift to be worn when she met her intended fiancé at the Gala. Holding the beautiful, cold stone, Elara felt the crushing weight of her destiny. Later that evening, in the dark office hallway, Caspian intercepted her. His eyes, upon seeing the sapphire, hardened with a sudden, dark intensity. He took the necklace from her hand, his expression dangerously possessive, and tossed it onto a nearby console table with a sharp click. He didn't ask her anything. He simply claimed her, pushing her against the wall with a hungry, fierce kiss that screamed ownership, his declaration overriding the contract and the danger for a brief, furious moment. This act, tossing aside the symbol of her duty, was his silent, powerful statement that he was the only future she was allowed to choose. The night of the Founders' Gala finally arrived, the formal, high society event where Elara was scheduled to meet her elusive fiancé, the Scion. Dressed in a magnificent, borrowed gown that felt completely false, Elara moved through the ballroom. The air was thick with expensive perfume, whispered financial maneuvering, and the suffocating weight of her family's debt. She hated the entire charade. She hated the knowledge that somewhere in this glittering, fake crowd was the man who held her entire future in his hands. Her eyes desperately scanned the room, searching for any way out, any familiar face, any break in the oppressive glamour. She soon spotted Caspian, of course, but he was completely transformed. Wearing an expensive, flawlessly tailored black tuxedo, he looked like a figure carved from pure power, standing isolated in a dimly lit corner. He was talking to a cluster of powerful, older men, the kind of corporate titans who ran the world, yet his gaze was locked entirely on her with an intensity that felt both desperately possessive and strangely pitying. He made no move to approach her. He didn't smile or acknowledge their secret relationship. He just watched, a dark sentinel guarding a secret that was clearly much bigger than she realized. It felt wrong, like a betrayal of their hidden moments. Yet the raw, primal possessiveness in his eyes pulled her like an overwhelming, irresistible gravitational force. As the master of ceremonies prepared to introduce the esteemed heir who would be her husband, Elara felt a terrifying wave of sickness. She was completely trapped between the cold stranger she was obligated to marry and the demanding, manipulative boss she loved. Unaware that they were the same man, and that he had orchestrated this entire scenario from the very beginning to ensure she was his. A sudden, dramatic hush fell over the entire ballroom as the master of ceremonies took the stage, ready to finally reveal the identity of the most sought-after heir in the city. Elara's stomach clenched with fear and dread, her gaze fixed entirely on the entrance. "Ladies and gentlemen," the host boomed, "allow me to introduce the heir to the Thorne family legacy, the visionary behind Obsidian Corp, the gentleman who will secure the future of the Harrington line, Mr. Caspian Thorne." The name was like a gunshot in the silent room. Elara's entire world shattered into a million glittering pieces, a sound mirrored by the champagne flute that slipped from her mother's shaking hand and crashed to the marble floor. Elara turned slowly, finding Caspian. No longer a distant shadow, but standing center stage, perfectly illuminated, his expression one of calm, lethal victory. The applause from the crowd was a deafening roar, but all Elara heard was the ringing silence of her profound betrayal. She saw the absolute truth reflected in his eyes. He knew. He had known about the arranged marriage all along. He knew about her debt. He knew about the Scion because he was the Scion. He had calculated and orchestrated the entire office romance, the illicit moments, the escalation of passion, all while knowing he was her intended match. As he smoothly descended the stage and walked directly toward her, his overwhelming power was terrifying. He didn't approach as her boss, or her secret lover, or her fiancé. He approached as the cunning architect of her entire life, holding all the cards. Elara's humiliation, shock, and absolute rage were consuming her entirely. She was a pawn in her own love story. Elara dragged Caspian away from the public celebration into a secluded side room, her voice shaking violently with cold, controlled fury. "You knew the truth. Was everything, the job, the late nights, the kisses, all just a corporate plan? Did you play me for fun?" She felt completely cheap, used, and manipulated. Caspian maintained his infuriating, professional composure, the same cool demeanor he used to shut down business rivals. "It was never a game, Elara. It was a calculated strategy to win what I already knew belonged to me." His honesty was a fresh, deep cut. He explained that he had inherited the arranged marriage contract years ago. When he realized her identity, he absolutely refused to meet her first as a cold, detached fiancé. "I had to know you, the real you, away from all the family pressure and corporate contracts. I needed you to fall for the man, Caspian, not the heir's money." But his logical explanation did nothing to soothe her fractured trust. "You took away my free will. You stole our secret moments and reduced them to a business maneuver." She spat, tears of pure rage burning down her cheeks. The power dynamic, which had once felt like an exciting thrill, now felt like a terrifying chokehold. The air was thick with their mutual pain, his cool dominance clashing violently with her wounded passion. She demanded that he tear up the contract immediately and let her walk away, but Caspian merely shook his head slowly, his eyes darkening with a possessiveness that was terrifyingly absolute. "The heart you gave me was real. I am your boss, I am your fiancé, and now I am your keeper. You are absolutely not walking away from me." Finally seeing the raw, desperate pain on Elara's face fractured Caspian's iron composure. He dropped the impenetrable CEO facade completely, sinking down to his knees before her. His expensive silk tuxedo was rumpled, and his hands grasped hers tightly. "I am truly sorry, Elara. Not for wanting you, but for the necessary deception. I needed time to secure everything." He confessed the full, brutal truth. Her family's debt was far worse than she knew, and her father was being viciously manipulated by predatory corporate rivals. Meeting her publicly first, before they had a secure foundation, would have exposed her to immediate, hostile corporate takeovers disguised as simple family meetings. "I hired you, I pursued you, I loved you, Because I was the only person with the power to protect you from being utterly destroyed. I orchestrated this arrangement to bring you into Obsidian, into my sight, into my complete control. Not to betray you, but to save you from utter financial and personal ruin. He then showed her documents proving his claims, revealing that he had been secretly paying off her family's most predatory creditors for months. I fell in love with your professional fire, your talent, the real woman who works late and fights for her reports. I wanted that woman to choose me, Caspian, the man, not the Scion's money. Now I'm begging you, accept the truth, not the lie of the title. I will fix the contract, but I cannot let you go. His raw, vulnerable honesty was a powerful weapon, tearing down the last of her defenses. The rage slowly bled out, replaced by a terrifying, dawning realization. He had risked his entire company's reputation and his family's trust just to win her heart honestly. The air around them was heavy with the fading scent of lilies and the sharp reality of broken champagne dreams. But none of the external chaos mattered anymore. Elara realized she didn't need to speak. Her body's overwhelming, honest response provided the only answer necessary. The very moment she understood that his deception was rooted in deep, possessive protection, and not pure cruelty, the final, strong wall of her betrayal crumbled. She launched herself instantly into his arms, clinging to him with a dizzying rush of relief, passion, and years of desperate, suppressed longing. Caspian swept her up, carrying her swiftly through the opulent hotel corridor to his private suite. The urgency of their need was a palpable, forceful pressure between them. There was no gentle prelude, only the immediate, desperate, ragged convergence of two people who had fought both the world and themselves to finally be together. Their clothes were shed in a frantic rush, revealing skin that had longed for this touch through weeks of stolen glances and illicit kisses. The passion was overwhelming, a physical and spiritual reunion that completely transcended their temporary titles of boss, employee, heir, and bride. Every kiss he gave her was a deep apology, and every touch was a sacred covenant. He was fierce, protective, and intensely focused, claiming her not with the arrogance of a cold CEO, but with the utter devotion of a man who had manipulated the fate of two entire empires just to hold her. It was the definitive, irrevocable act of reconciliation, sealing their future in the intense heat of their desperate, honest love. An act that finally made their destined marriage undeniably real. 2 months later, the corporate scandal had finally faded into a distant footnote in the society pages. The marriage contract was completely renegotiated, not as a cold merger of debt, but as a true, equal partnership founded on love. Elara was no longer a junior associate. She was now the executive vice president of Obsidian Corp's dynamic creative division and, most importantly, Caspian's wife. They stood together on the rooftop terrace of their shared penthouse, the city lights glittering below them, a beautiful symbol of the new empire they now built together. Elara placed her hand over his heart, feeling the steady, familiar beat, a rhythm that had become the consistent, safe cadence for her own life. Did you ever truly doubt that I would choose you, even before your dramatic reveal? She asked softly. Caspian pulled her close, the possessiveness still there, but now beautifully softened by deep tenderness. I risked everything I had on your heart, Elara. I knew the very moment you walked into the Obsidian lobby that you were the only thing I truly wanted to own forever. I just had to make absolutely sure you wanted to be owned by me, too. They had successfully built their life not on corporate lies and cold contracts, but on the enduring foundation of their dangerous, illicit office romance, which had now transformed into an unbreakable destiny that was hers, his, and theirs alone. The future was an unwritten chapter, but they would face it together, two equal partners in love and power, forever secure. Which moment gave you the most emotional whiplash? The shattered glass reveal or Caspian's vulnerable apology? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you want more romance, more power, and more unforgettable twists, please like this video and subscribe for more videos like this.